what's the next best thing we can choose? What's the first step in all of this? And something that I really struggle with as a coach in terms of the GLPs is the appetite. I have to really watch my clients, the couple that I do have that are taking them, because I might be prescribing a certain amount of protein for them a day, but they're just not hungry.
Because the hormones have been suppressed, because normally you rely on your hormones or your appetite to say, okay, I'm hungry now. But if that's been suppressed, it's like, when do you eat? You're not then following the specific, okay, I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro are making headlines as game changers for weight loss and metabolic health. But here's the truth. These drugs alone aren't a magic fix. If you're relying on them without addressing the root causes of metabolic dysfunction, you might be setting yourself up for frustration, plateaus, or even unwanted side effects. In today's episode, we're diving into how and why GLP-1s work, where they fall short, and how expert guidance can make the difference between temporary weight loss and true metabolic transformation for lasting health. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. I'm excited to have Emma back again, who is an online nutritional coach. She's a personal trainer and group fitness instructor with over 2 decades of experience. Emma has the privilege of transforming lives and bodies of hundreds of women without spending endless hours at the gym or stressing over every meal. Her mission is simple: to help women lose 20 pounds or more and feel amazing doing it without all the gimmicks of dieting, and just practical, sustainable habits that fit into everyday busy lives. Emma has been working with clients in a variety of settings, from group fitness to behind the scenes management, and teaches group fitness at several clubs. And she has a great understanding when it comes to what works and what doesn't. Welcome, Emma, again to our podcast.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So we've had you on before, and I'd love to we spoke last time about dieting and how women get caught up on emotional eating. But today, I want to discuss the idea of, GLP-1 drugs, and, so many people are using things like Ozempic, and, we're starting to see a lot of the side effects coming up, and really want to look at a holistic way to really work on nutrition without the need for medication. So yeah, excited to jump in.
It's such a hot topic. And if we'd had this conversation a year ago, I would have had a hard no on all of it. Don't do it. It's the end. And as a coach, I've had to soften my approach a little bit to that. So it's been a journey for me too, on the flip side.
Yeah, I know. And so it is, because most of the clients we've seen, or we've heard of, like someone they know, or maybe a family friend or a family member, or they themselves have been on this journey, because they go and see, a general practitioner, a GP, and they will start prescribing them these drugs. So let's talk about, first of all, the drugs, what they do and how they work in the body. And then we'll talk about what are some of the things that we can do without needing to go down the path of medication.
Yeah, absolutely. So these GLPs, the glucagon-like peptides, right?
Yes.
So they're really hormones that are going to help regulate the blood sugar and really kind of think about that. And really what I've seen also in my clients is regulate the appetite. Really, well, regulate is a loose word. It really takes the appetite away.
Because they're initially done for diabetes, right? I mean, that's what they were basically early on used for, which now they're starting to say, okay, well, if it's a diabetes drugs, it must work on, again, blood sugar, right? And metabolism, and breaking down, some of the blood sugars faster in the body.
Yep, absolutely. Controls the cravings, all of those things that help us feel fuller for a little bit, all of those things. It's the magic pill, right? It's a magic shot.
The magic shot once a week. Yep. I can lose weight without needing to exercise, eat well. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change anything. And one medication is going to fix it all. But we're seeing it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And okay. So it
doesn't work in the long term. It doesn't work in the long term. It may work in the short term, but yes, they will see it working. Like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. As soon as they stop it, what happens?
Exactly. And I haven't seen a lot of people who are stopping it cold turkey. And I do feel the couple of clients that I have who are doing it, they are under the guidance of a GP and me. So not that we talk together or anything like that, but it's very much a weaning off kind of process. It's very much it's controlled. It's not just like they bought it online, which I don't know if in Australia that's a phenomenon that's happening here, but I can't.
No, you still need to go and get a script. Yeah.
You can get it in this. I could get it on it online here in the States. I mean, and I have
Wow.
for it. It's quite scary how easy it is to get your hands on it. All it is taking, fibbing on a few online quizzes and you're in. So it's alarming how easy they're getting it out. That's one of my issues with it. I think in terms of where it fits in to our coaching world and to our life, I think that when it is just dished out and you're just kind of given it and you sent on your way and good luck, you're going to lose some weight. That's everybody's dream, right? But if you're not changing your lifestyle and if you're not doing the work on the inside, then it really is not going to be sustainable. It's probably going to do more long-term damage than long-term benefit.
Yeah. I've already seen a lot of the side effects which are coming up, which we'll discuss. But why do you think these medications are so popular? I mean, like you just said, people want to go to the GP, they want a quick fix, and they're like, yep, give me something that works. And the GPs don't know how else to manage it holistically. I mean, that's not how they're taught. They're like, here's a medication. See you in a few months, right? Try this and see how you go.
Yeah. What I would love to see is a GP who said, okay, let me refer you out to a dietitian or a nutritionist and let's talk about your diet and let's see if we can lose weight naturally first. Let's see if we can implement all of these, good proteins, good fiber, healthy carbs, good fat first, get you moving a little bit. And if we need to still do this, let's go that route. That would be my sort of dream scenario. But
functional GP maybe, but not the traditional GPs, right?
Not absolutely.
I just want to medicate.
Yeah. That idea of medication and being able to, again, take that magic pill and without the work. And it's kind of scary, I think, that it's being given out so easily.
Yeah, because there's so many misconceptions. Let's talk about some of the misconceptions that you've come across about, those sort of drugs like Ozempic. What are some of the misconceptions? Like I said, it's a quick fix. I can just take it and I'm going to lose weight. And they think they're going to stay at that weight forever. Once they've lost 10, 20 pounds or more, right? 10, 20 kilos, they're going to stay at that weight and that's it.
Yeah. One of the things that I am definitely seeing is, are people who are like, well, my neighbor lost 20 pounds on it, so that's what's going to happen for me. And then
yes,
your friend only loses 5. And you're sort of like, well, that's how the body works. It's not one size fits all. It could be a completely different medication, completely different dosage, completely different. You could be putting it in a different, I've read somewhere, and I don't know the validity of this at all, but if you change up the location of where you put the injection, it could impact things. So many different things come into play. And I'm sure it even comes down to your baseline weight, where you're starting, how active you are, how you eat anyway.
Oh, everything. Because they're not taking any of that into consideration, right? When they're just going on these medications, they think it's a long-term solution and they can do it on their own, but they're not changing anything else. And like I said, it's not a one size fits all, right? And then are you changing that up at all? Are you doing anything like exercise at the same time? Most people aren't. They're just like, let's try to exercise. Like it might be essentially for people who really can't move and are morbidly obese, right? They may be able to lose some weight so that they can start exercising a little bit because they may be restricted because of their weight.
Sure.
That may be a start.
Yeah.
But after some time, right? I've had a client who has had the gastric sleeve.
Yep.
Lost a little bit of weight. Their one was on Ozempic as well. And all up, even in those 6 months, didn't really lose all that much weight, right? As soon as they stopped it, went back up to before, even more weight than they were to start with. So It's not a quick Band-Aid fix, even with the gastric sleeve. So we can talk about that too. Like before Ozempic, there was gastric banding and that was even more sort of invasive surgery, right?
Absolutely. And again, I think what these two things have in common is that the education is just not there. It's just the sort of medical, and this is absolutely not to dog on the medical profession. If I have a sinus infection, going to my doctor and he's going to make it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to these situations where it does require an environmental change, a lifestyle change, and the medical intervention can be a part of that. We can all fit together. But when these two other pieces are missing, I think it's massively disruptive to the body.
Because you have to ask, how did they get there in the first place, right? I mean, through poor diet, poor movement, stress, right? That's why they got to being the weight that they are, and they want a quick fix, but they haven't addressed, like you said, anything deeper than just go and take this drug. And it's not a magic fix, right? It doesn't fix the brain, doesn't fix the mindset, the emotions behind why we were actually putting on weight in the first place and not shifting that weight and being unhealthy.
Which means those old habits are going to creep in, even if you feel your pants better and even if you feel better about yourself and you get this confidence, because let's just not sugarcoat it. When you lose weight, you do typically feel better about yourself. That's just a fact. But it's not when you do have a bad day and when you are triggered or you do go on vacation, it could become a slippery slope and you don't have the medication to fall back into. And then it's the cycle all over again. So I really think the GLPs are really just one of those, it's another cycle situation, right? It's like overeating, taking the drug, not taking the drug, on or off it. What am I doing here?
So that's why I guess the role of coaching and what you do, and if you're seeing a holistic practitioner like myself or a naturopath or anyone in that supportive role that understands the deep rooted cause of why you've got the weight issue in the first place is so important, and supporting people who may be on this medication, helping them to wean off, but understand that deeper role of addressing the root cause of the metabolic dysfunction rather than just relying on medication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's got to be, there is a mindset aspect to it. There is an accountability aspect to it.
Yes, accountability is huge piece, right?
There's a personalized it's a personalized experience for everybody. As we just outlined, what works for your neighbor is not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess the mindset shifts are necessary for that really long-term success beyond just the medication. That's where the role of a coach or someone that is going to hold you accountable. Because when you have someone that is knocking your door, you've booked a personal trainer in, you got to show up, right? You can't just go, okay, I'm going to skip my personal training session. That's when you're really understanding all of everything works together to address the long-term root cause of mindset, patterns, accountability,
habits, things that we do in the daily. It's like, okay, this is how we got here. These are the habits that put us in a position where we need this medication. What's the next best thing we can choose? What's the first step in all of this? And something that I really struggle with as a coach in terms of the GLPs is the appetite. I have to really watch my clients, the couple that I do have that are taking them, because I might be prescribing a certain amount of protein for them a day, but they're just not hungry. And that appetite and that sort of hunger.
Because the hormones have been suppressed, because normally you rely on your hormones or your appetite to say, okay, I'm hungry now. But if that's been suppressed, it's like, when do you eat? You're not then following the specific, okay, I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. And it's really hard to force somebody to eat when they really don't want to. And that's kind of, a no-no. If you're not hungry, we don't want to go too far, but you've got to be able to clue in, and your body has to regulate itself. And these GLPs are suppressing all of those kinds of things just for the sake of losing a few pounds and a few belt sizes.
Yeah. So I guess what are some of the things, what are some strategies used to transition people off these drugs, but really looking at sort of regaining that healthy eating habit without worsening their health?
So the first thing I tell my clients when we are coming off of these drugs is very much like, look, this is your weight now. And how do you feel in your body? What size clothes are you in? What are your measurements? Because when we start increasing the intake, and not to make it so simple, but intake, outtake, it's got to be a balance. If you start increasing your food a little bit more, there's going to be a little bit of a shift. And so it's that education around like, look, you're not going to stay the same weight forever. If there's a 5-pound window here, upwards or downwards, we're in good shape. So you're going to gain a little bit of weight. How are we?
Well, that's muscle sometimes if you're working out, right? You're going to gain a bit of weight. We can't always measure it based on the scales.
Exactly. And that's when we've got to bring in the exercise. So it's really making sure that they're bringing up the protein. That's always where I focus first, is like how can we increase it? Okay, this week we're going from 3 ounces. And that's when it's really key, I think, to clue in on those serving sizes. Does anybody want to weigh and measure their food forever? Absolutely not. Is it necessary? No. But it is when you're coming off of these drugs, I think it's understanding, I'm eating 3 ounces. I can do that. I'm going to be eating 4 next week, and then I'm going to increase to 5. I'm going to increase my exercise, and that's how everything's going to come back into balance, right? It's a gradual process. It's not something I can't just tell somebody, okay, you're on 150 grams of protein tomorrow. Let's go. That's going to have major issues inside, and it doesn't feel good. So I think really getting in on that protein and then bringing up the exercise is how we kind of keep it all kind of in check.
And that's a big problem when you start a medication. As soon as you're on that medication, instantly your body's shifting, like within the next 24, 48 hours, right? Whereas we're looking at slow strategies, right, to have long-term effects. Like that's the thing with weight loss. And like we spoke about in our last podcast, it's all about the emotions. Why are these people is there trauma? Is there other sort of emotional underlying factors, right? Genetics is a play for sure, because some people's genetics are just, they've got the genetics. It's like we need to switch on, the right genes. We need to be on the right specific program that is going to support the genes, right? If we've been given, the dirty genes or something that isn't supporting us in the best way, we need to find that out and then look at the best exercise regime, right? Like I said, we need to be accountable, find the best exercise regime. Whether it's for some people, it's just walking. It isn't the hardcore weights and training like I spoke about, which most people do, right? Some people might just be like walking 10,000 steps a day is perfect for them and their body.
Absolutely.
Right? But most people are not finding the ideal exercise regime, the ideal nutrition and stress reduction, sleep optimization, all of that to really have that natural effectiveness on their health and hormones.
And something that we haven't talked about, which I think is really important, is where have you been in your diet journey? What's your relationship with food like? Because if you've had a really rough, I came from a diet culture, a mom who's always on a diet, right? She was the Weight Watchers queen. She was one of the ladies who did
people love, that's what they turn to. There's anything Weight Watchers, right? I'm going to have these meals sent to me and just be on Weight Watchers.
Absolutely. And that
works for some.
Yeah. And I grew up, it worked for my mom and she did it for many years, but that's how I grew up. And so my relationship with food, it was a little swirly for a little bit. I definitely fell into that less is more. And again, as I think I mentioned earlier, I tend to undereat when I'm stressed. I typically back away from food. My body just kind of shuts down in that regard. But I think is there disordered eating there? Is it just, are we chasing this for vanity or are we chasing it for health? And what I can tell you is that clients who are chasing the weight loss for health, for, longevity.
Could be a purpose of longevity or being able to have a baby, right? Because it's hard for a lot of people in Western countries and or in America, in Australia, when you're overweight or obese or morbidly obese, you can't go through IVF and there's problems with fertility. And that is a wake up call to say, okay, I really need to shift and really look at the deeper underlying issues, because you're also passing on those genetics to your offspring as well. So how can we get healthy for long-term health outcomes, right? The lifespan, right? And so that we aren't going to be having, diabetes later in life, right?
And really needing this medication for what it was designed for, right?
Yes.
So I think when we can keep that longevity, that long-term view, what am I doing this for? Because if it's just to fit in a smaller pair of pants, that's a little different. And that's someone who is in it for the long haul. And that's where the magic happens. And even on my clients that are not taking GLPs, I think those clients always have more success than those that are just chasing the smaller pant size and the smaller number on the scale.
So let's talk, are there any specific lifestyle priorities, like we said about exercising and a few other things, but that we should really be prioritizing over taking these medications?
I think we need to clue into, there's a lot of science around food and macronutrients and how much we should be eating and all of that. But I think ultimately the first thing that needs to happen when you're on these GLPs is how are you feeling? How is your quality of life? I don't know about you, but I've heard that, GI issues can be really rough on these patients that are taking the GLPs. And I don't want to spend my life, wondering, being nauseous.
Well, it's mucking up your digestive issues and you're not sure what it's really doing hormonally and on a deeper level when you're just on medication and nothing else is being addressed, right? It can really muck up.
Yeah, just cluing into I feel day one when I take it, this is how I had a client who would sleep for a couple of days because she just felt really, really rough. Well, when she slept for a couple of days, not only did she not exercise, but she certainly didn't eat. And then her sleep would be off for the rest of the week because she spent the weekend sleeping it away. So it was that's the cycle that we get stuck into. I think in terms of looking at I think that sleep is a really big part of all of this weight loss, health in general, making sure that you're getting that rest and that recovery because your body is going through so much internally. We've really got to take that rest into consideration. And then I think it's just really staying accountable to what am I eating? I know she's not my client, but I do know somebody who is eating chicken nuggets for lunch and maybe celery and, hummus for dinner and those it's
well, I think by eating less, they're losing the weight, right? It's not less is not more. It's actually depriving the body of the right essential minerals and vitamins and micros to actually just function normally.
Exactly. And that is something that we need to stay on top of. And that is why a coach is going to remind you of all of those things. things like water. And even if you are not drinking the, appropriate amount, even if you're not eating the appropriate amount necessarily right away, eventually we want to get you there. We've got to get you back to those habits, because otherwise the weight is going to come back.
And I think, I guess we haven't really touched on it, but for me, I find that self-love and really looking at, some people have got such a bad outlook on their own bodies. They haven't tapped back in to really love and nurture. They see their body as, I hate my body, I'm foreign to it for whatever trauma and what else they've come across, or just over time, their bad habits have led them to just not be able to look at the mirror, to love their body. And then they've spiraled out of control with their eating, and then they've gotten them to where they are. So I think that's a huge piece, like just coming back to self-love, coming back to just nourishing, loving your body, really loving yourself, no matter what you look like at the time. Like, sure, your goal is to maybe lose however many kilos and pounds that it is, or it could be the outcome, but you've got to start with, okay, I'm going to love and nurture myself and treat my body well, and love where I am right now, and that the journey forward is just going to be, is going to be easier, and I'm going to do what I can to get on the right track. And I think let's talk a bit about self-love. Like it's huge for most people who are sort of down this spiral now in terms of looking at drugs and looking at the gastric sleeve. I mean, there has to be a point where they're like, I'm going to go to the extremes because I'm just not happy with myself anymore.
Absolutely. And I think that self-love is a huge part of all of this. And I think that we've gotten into this cycle of shame, right? It's like, I did all of these things, and I
blame and shame your body.
You can't hate your body into being healthier, but you can do it into being healthier. You can nourish, like you said. And I think movement plays a huge role in that. If we take, all of the science that we know about how more muscle on your body burns more calories and all of the things and the definition, if we take all of that off the table and we just want people to move because they love it, if they love to swim, if they love to dance, if they love to do yoga, if whatever they love to do, I think that's a huge part of this self-love situation. It doesn't have to be for the purpose of losing weight, burning calories. It has to be for that sole purpose of just tuning in and being happy in that movement and being able to do those things.
Yeah, which most people forget about, right? They want that quick fix. And it's like, let's really go back and just start to treat our bodies with a bit of respect, with a bit of love, and talk to our bodies nicely. Like, we forget we beat on our bodies all the time. And that language, that mindset, as an NLP and hypnotherapy trainer, like it's so easy for us. We talk so much slack to our body, and it's like, we wouldn't even say that to our best friend, but yet our mindset and what our thoughts are saying is so damaging to what we're going to do.
1,000%. And I see this all the time. It's like when women typically, and I'm a women's coach, so that's kind of where I lean. I don't know if men have the same thoughts, but I can almost guarantee that most women, when they walk past a mirror, they either put their head down and they don't look, or they immediately go to that place where they are like, oh, my arms are so bad, or, oh, look at this saggy skin, or
they start picking all the flaws.
So I challenge people a lot of times to stand in the mirror and find something good. What do you love? What do you love about yourself? Is it your eyes? Is it your eyelashes? Is it your
find something that find one part of your body that you could be proud of.
That you can be proud of. And I think too there's value in that. It's all of those affirmations, it's all of that positivity, that mind-body connection. We do talk about it when we're lifting weights, but let's talk about it from a soul level as well, from a deeper level, that mind muscle.
And that's what we forget. And I think, just turning to drugs, turning to quick fixes without really understanding truly what is making us happy, what is keeping us going, what self-love can we do to really nourish the body. And then we'll find that food is nourishing. We're not going to see it as the enemy or see some quick fix, and really look at all the sustainable strategies that are going to keep us healthy for the rest of our lives, because it's not about the quick fix. We can't sustain being on drugs for the rest of our lives, although, some people are. But ideally, we want to really look at what the deeper underlying root cause and emotions of the weight is doing to us long term.
And I think learning to trust ourselves again. I think when we take drugs, I think it sort of passes the buck a little bit.
The blame, and it passes okay, I'm not responsible anymore. Here, you fix me, right? That's a mentality, like, fix me, give me the drug, fix me up, because I can't fix myself.
And that may be the case. Maybe we've gone so far down the path where it is like we are so unhealthy from a weight standpoint, that it's like, maybe we are there, but can we pair that responsibility that you've given to doctors and medicine and all of that with the self-love that you talk about, and all of that sort of like, okay, the lifestyle changes that we're making, the nutritional changes that we're making, and again, the self-love. Can we bring that together somehow so that we're not
Yeah.
out here relying on somebody else to fix us when really the work has to happen inside?
Definitely. And just to finish up, I guess, what are some of the some last minute takeaways, and just what are some of the success stories that you've seen with your own clients that have combined perhaps, some more, I guess, some GLP-1 therapy or drugs with the coaching for sustainable long-term health transformation?
One of my clients in particular, she was on her GLPs, and she knew my thoughts on it. Like, we can do this, but we got to do it together. I couldn't touch her food for quite some time just because of her appetite situation.
Yeah. Yep.
I coached her on prioritizing the protein. Are you going to get your 6-7 ounces? Probably not, but let's make sure we're getting that first, and let's get our vegetables and our good carbs in. Where she did really excel was the exercise portion of it. She got into a really nice, well-rounded exercise program, and I think she did all the work there. And that was really encouraging to see. Slowly, we're still getting off of these drugs. She's on a very small dose, and we are starting to pay attention. She was a pretty clean eater from the jump anyway. But her problem was she wasn't eating enough. So that's another lifestyle she's coming into. She wasn't eating enough. And yet here's a basic, an appetite suppressant. So we're trying to rewire the brain in that regard. But the exercise is where she absolutely excels for sure. I think that,
and I guess it's finding something to start with, right? If you love exercise, finding that and just start slow, then we can start introducing different foods and then make a plan, right? It's a long-term thing. It's not a quick fix, like I said, right? It's a 6 to 12 months. There's a lot of trauma, emotional aspect, and a lot of that. It's not going to be a few months, right? We're looking at that long-term addressing of every part of, from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual aspect of how can we get into our most optimal health through the right strategies.
And that's what it comes down to when people are doing it for the right reasons, as opposed to just, a few more belt loops on their belt. It's like, we've got to make sure that we are addressing the whole package. And I like you said, that next best thing, that one thing that you can find that you can really thrive on and really excel at, I think that's going to support you. But ultimately, a coach is going to keep you accountable to all of those things that we know are important and are going to help you get there long term. I think something else that's really important, it's like, play the tape forward, right? It's like, where am I in a year from now? Am I still taking these drugs, or am I a healthy who do I envision myself to be? And what habits does that person have? Does that person still take the GLPs, or is she running, is she signing up for her first 10K? Is she meal prepping her meals? Is she, all of those things? Who do you want to be in this? And play the tape forward.
Because a lot of people aren't looking at the future. Well, they're like, okay, I just want a quick fix now. Yeah. And we'll just see what happens. But it is planning, and it is being realistic about your expectations, right? People expect to lose like a gastric sleeve, like 50 kilos or however that is in pounds, but they expect to lose that really quick in a short amount of time. But they haven't addressed, I guess, the longer term strategies, and really having someone to hold their hand, to be accountable, which is where someone like yourself comes in. But it's that long-term outlook, because we need to correct a lot of the times the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual work that needs to be done as a root cause.
The sleeves is a really interesting situation. I've only had one client who had a sleeve, and her physical movement was really impaired through her core.
Yeah, well, it's major abdominal surgery, right? You've cut through so many layers. The stitching, I mean, there's so much that.
Absolutely. She had a hard time doing any kind of real ab work because she couldn't quite make the connection, that mind muscle connection. And then eventually she had it taken out, which was another major surgery. And she's doing everything. But just being like, she actually said to me, she's like, Emma, I can't move that way because of this thing and I never.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah, I have seen many clients with that restricted. They're cut from left to right, and there's major abdominal adhesions and surgeries, and you can't move the same. Once you've had any surgery, whether it is small surgery or as big as that, your body's not going to be the same.
It comes back to, who do I want to be in this? Do I want to be this healthy?
Do I want to go down the invasive route, or do I want to have that slow, long-term healthier, more nourishing sort of, long-term effect of really going it slowly, but also having sustainable results, which is what we're after. It's long and sustainable rather than short and quick.
Yeah. So my tip before you go down the road, GLP-1's great. They're for a reason, but get a coach. Let's do it together.
Exactly. Thank you, Emma, so much for sharing your journey and what you do for the clients. You do amazing work. I'm going to pop her links in the chat. So if you have any questions, reach out to Emma. But thank you so much for being on today. And we hope you got some insights. And yes, be safe, take it easy, and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring or informative, please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It will help us reach more people just like you who are on their journey to vibrant health and balance. For more tips, resources, or to work with me, please visit my website or connect with me on socials. And remember, your health is your superpower. So keep nurturing it, and I'll see you next time.